I never thought I would say these words again. After years of believing that work was the only thing that truly mattered, after a lifetime spent building rockets and cars and chasing dreams so audacious they bordered on the impossible, I have made a different kind of decision. A decision rooted not in algorithms or engineering, but in the undeniable gravity of the human heart. I have decided to get married again. Yes, you heard that correctly. I am getting married. If you are happy for me, I would be genuinely honored if you would share your congratulations in the comments below. I promise you, I will be reading every single one of them. Most of you who follow my journey are likely familiar with the public narrative of my past marriages. The media has certainly never tired of dissecting the ups and the downs, the triumphs and the trials. But this moment, this story I am about to share, is not about headlines or speculation. It is about a profound discovery that has reshaped my understanding of existence itself. It is about the realization that human connection matters far more than ambition, that love is the force that gives purpose and meaning to everything else we build, and that none of us, not one, are meant to face the vast expanse of life entirely alone. Let me take you back to how this all began, to a moment of quiet desperation just 3 months ago. On the surface, everything in my life appeared to be a monumental success. My companies were breaking new ground, pushing the frontiers of science and technology. Yet inside, a profound emptiness had taken root. I had just concluded another grueling week of back-to-back meetings discussing the intricate logistics of Mars missions and the bleeding-edge developments in neural interfaces. But when I returned home that Friday night, the silence in my house was not peaceful. It was deafening. It echoed in the cavernous rooms, a stark reminder of my isolation. All these staggering achievements, all these world-changing projects, and there was nobody there to truly share them with. Who really knew me, the person behind the public persona? The weight of that question became unbearable. I realized then that I needed to do something completely different, something that would disconnect me from the world of CEOs and engineers and reconnect me with the fundamental fabric of humanity. That realization led me to a small, unassuming food bank here in Austin, Texas. There was nothing glamorous about it. I wasn't looking for a photo opportunity or a chance to burnish my public image. I simply started showing up on Saturday mornings, ready to sort cans, pack boxes, and help families who were struggling to make ends meet. It was in this place of simple, honest work that I met Sarah. What I've just described is the critical turning point that many people face. That feeling of being at the top of a mountain only to realize you climbed it alone. Have you ever experienced a moment like that in your own life, where success felt hollow? I'd be fascinated to hear your story in the comments. Your experience could offer perspective to someone else feeling the same way right now. Sarah is 30 years old and teaches elementary school. From the very first moment she walked into that food bank, she was fundamentally different from anyone I had ever encountered in my professional or personal life. It was not her appearance, though she possessed a natural and understated beauty. It was not her credentials or her background. It was something she said, a simple sentence uttered during our first lunch break that struck me with the force of a revelation. Someone in our small group of volunteers had asked the simple question of why we were all there. People offered the typical, well-meaning answers: to give back to the community, to help others less fortunate, to stay busy and productive. When it was Sarah's turn, she paused for a thoughtful moment, her gaze clear and direct. Then she said, "I volunteer because I want to practice being the person I hope to become." Practice being the person I hope to become. That sentence didn't just register, it landed on me like a bolt of lightning. In my life, I have heard thousands of motivational quotes, absorbed countless business philosophies, and listened to endless speeches on vision and execution. But this was different. This wasn't about the act of charity or the performance of good deeds. It was a profound statement about using service as a tool for deliberate, conscious character development. It reframed the entire concept of altruism from an external act to an internal discipline. Later that day, I found a moment to ask her what she meant. "What do you mean by that? Practice?" I asked, genuinely curious. She explained it with a clarity that was both simple and deeply wise. "I want to be someone who instinctively notices when others need help and then actually acts on it," she said. "Someone who shows up consistently for people, not just when it's convenient or when I feel like it. You can't just decide to be that kind of person by thinking about it in your head. It's like learning an instrument or a sport. You have to practice it every day in small ways." This wasn't the voice of a young, naive idealist with her head in the clouds. This was the voice of someone who understood a fundamental truth that had taken me more than 5 decades to even begin to grasp. That character is not forged in grand, heroic gestures, but is meticulously built, brick by brick, through the accumulation of our daily choices. The idea of life as a practice is so powerful. What does that phrase, "practicing being the person you hope to become," mean to you? Share your interpretation below. I believe we can all learn from each other's perspectives on this. Over the following weeks, I made a point of observing her. I watched how Sarah interacted with every single person who came through the food bank stores. She had an incredible capacity for remembering the small, personal details of people's lives. Asking an elderly woman about her grandson's soccer game, checking in with another volunteer about a sick parent. She always seemed to gravitate toward the hardest, most thankless tasks without ever being asked, whether it was cleaning a spill or sorting through a messy donation bin. Most strikingly, she was completely present in every single moment. She was never distracted by her phone, never looking over someone's shoulder for the next conversation. When she was with you, she was with you. One morning, we were working together, sorting through a pallet of damaged goods that had been donated by a local grocery store. She picked up a can of beans with a badly torn label. Holding it in her hands, she said almost to herself, "This reminds me of people." I was intrigued. "Sometimes," she continued, "you can't tell what's valuable just by looking at the outside. The label is torn, it looks imperfect, but you have to look more carefully to see what's really inside." She wasn't just talking about a can of beans. In that quiet, profound moment, she was articulating a worldview of immense compassion and depth. That was the moment I knew, with absolute certainty, that I was falling in love with her. It was not about her appearance, her age, or what she could practically offer to my already complicated life. It was about the very architecture of her thoughts, the depth of her character, and the conscious, intentional person she was choosing to become through her daily actions. That insight into character, being the true measure of a person, is the foundation of everything that followed. If you found this part of the story valuable, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps me know what content resonates most with you. I had been married before, of course. Those relationships were built on different foundations: intellectual compatibility, shared life goals, mutual attraction. These are all important components, to be sure, but as I learned, they were somehow not sufficient to endure the immense pressures and complexities of my life. This felt different. This felt like meeting someone whose character I admired so deeply that I wanted to spend the rest of my life simply learning from her way of seeing the world. The age difference was a consideration that surfaced in my mind initially. 30 and 53 is not an insignificant gap, and I was acutely aware of how it might be perceived. But the more I got to know Sarah, the more I came to understand that wisdom is not a simple function of the number of years you have lived. Rather, wisdom is a function of how much attention you have paid during those years. Sarah had paid attention in a way that many people, regardless of age, never do. She had, through her own quiet contemplation and consistent practice, uncovered essential truths about service, character, and purpose that had taken me decades of trial and error, of success and failure, to even begin to comprehend. One Saturday, after we had finished our volunteer shift, I worked up the courage to ask her if she would like to get a coffee. I made a point of framing it carefully. Not as Elon Musk, the chief executive officer, a title often shortened to CEO, but simply as the person she had come to know on Saturday mornings, the person I was slowly, and with her unwitting guidance, becoming. She said yes. We talked for 3 hours. We did not talk about rockets, or electric cars, or artificial intelligence. We talked about the books that had fundamentally changed the way she thought about the world. We talked about her philosophy on education, her family, and the simple, everyday things that bring life meaning. I found myself opening up in a way I rarely do, sharing my own struggles with finding a sense of purpose beyond grand achievements, and my growing, painful awareness that success without genuine connection feels like the most profound kind of failure. What I discovered was a conversation that nourished a part of my soul I had long neglected. Have you ever had a conversation that completely changed your perspective on something? Tell me about it in the comments. I believe those moments are some of the most important in our lives. Toward the end of our coffee, she looked at me and said something that, once again, showed her remarkable perception. You know what I've noticed about you? You become different when you're here at the food bank. You're more present, more yourself somehow. She was absolutely right. Away from the crushing complexity of my public life, away from the constant pressure and the weight of 1,000 expectations, I was simply a person helping other people. It was a role stripped of all pretense, and in that simplicity, I was finding a more authentic version of myself. I asked if she would like to have dinner sometime. She said yes again. Our conversations over the following weeks were a beautiful tapestry, weaving together topics from education reform to space exploration, from climate change to classic literature. But no matter where our discussions began, we always circled back to the same central theme. How does one live a truly meaningful life? How do you ensure that your daily choices, the small things you do every day, are in perfect alignment with your deepest, most cherished values? Sarah challenged my thinking in ways that felt exhilarating rather than threatening. When I would talk with passion about colonizing Mars, she would ask thoughtful, penetrating questions about our moral responsibility to ensure we do not neglect the pressing problems right here on Earth. Her questions never felt like criticism. They were born of a genuine, compassionate curiosity about the ethical dimensions of progress. These conversations were not just intellectually stimulating, they were actively changing how I approached my work and my life. I started paying more attention to the small daily choices I was making, not just my grand long-term strategic vision. She was, in essence, teaching me how to practice being the person I hoped to become. This journey of personal growth, sparked by another person, is one of the most beautiful aspects of human connection. If you're finding this story inspiring, please consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss our future explorations into living a more meaningful life. 2 months ago, I knew with a calm and unshakable certainty that I wanted to marry her. The realization did not come during a fancy dinner or a dramatic moment. It came, fittingly, during one of our Saturday mornings together at the food bank. Sarah was leading a small project to organize a new section of the warehouse, and I stood back for a moment just to watch her. I watched how she coordinated with everyone, not by giving orders, but by building consensus and making sure every single person felt included and valued. She was patient when things went wrong, creative in solving problems, and had an incredible ability to bring out the very best in everyone around her. In that moment, I understood something profound. Sarah didn't just make me want to be a better person, she made everyone around her better. Her very presence was an elevating force. When I was with her, I was more thoughtful, more present, more conscious of my own choices and their impact on others. When I was with her, I wanted to be worthy of the person she saw in me. It was a startlingly clear thought. I didn't just love Sarah, I loved the man I was becoming when I was with her. I loved the quiet, meaningful life we were already beginning to build together, one Saturday at a time. Most importantly, I trusted her. I trusted her to be my partner in that ongoing practice of becoming. 3 weeks ago, I asked her to marry me. I didn't plan some elaborate, over-the-top proposal. The moment arrived as naturally as our relationship had unfolded. We were working side by side, stacking boxes, and the feeling just washed over me. I stopped what I was doing and turned to face her. "Sarah," I said. She looked up from her work, sensing a shift in my tone. "I love you," I said, the words feeling more real and true than any I had ever spoken. "I love your mind and your heart and the way you see the world. I love who I am when I am with you." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, and timeless. "Will you marry me?" I asked, my own heart pounding in my chest. She looked at me for a long, silent moment, her eyes filling with tears that reflected the fluorescent lights of the warehouse. "Yes," she whispered. "Of course, yes." That simple word, yes, in that simple place, felt more significant than launching the world's most powerful rocket. Have you ever had a moment of such perfect, quiet clarity in your life? I would love to hear about it. Sharing these moments of joy can be incredibly uplifting for our entire community. We are planning a simple ceremony for early next year. Nothing elaborate or ostentatious. We want the day to be focused on what truly matters, the commitment we are making to each other, a promise to walk alongside one another in the lifelong practice of becoming. I am not naive. I know that when this news becomes public, some people will inevitably focus on our age difference. Others will speculate about motives, as is always the case when one's personal life unfolds under a public microscope. But here is what I truly want people to understand, especially those of you who have lived long enough to know what really matters in a relationship. Love is not just about finding someone who conveniently fits into the life you have already built. Sometimes, true love is about finding someone who shows you a better, more meaningful way to live. Sarah has shown me that character is not built through a resume of accomplishments, but through the quiet consistency of daily choices about how you treat other people. She has shown me that the most meaningful work we can do might not be our professional work at all, but the work we do on ourselves. Most importantly, she has shown me that love found later in life can be even deeper and more profound than the love we experience when we are young. It is a love informed by a clearer awareness of what truly matters, and a deeper appreciation for the rare gift of finding someone who not only accepts your deepest values, but shares them. For those of you who may be in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or beyond, I want you to hear this loud and clear. It is never too late to find love. It is never too late to be wonderfully, completely surprised by someone who changes the very lens through which you see the world. But that kind of love, that deep, transformative connection, requires a willingness to show up as you truly are. It requires being willing to be seen clearly with all of your history and all of your imperfections. It requires the courage to be vulnerable, a courage that knows no age. Sarah could have easily chosen someone her own age, someone without the immense complications that come with my public life. But she chose someone whose character she had had the chance to observe up close. Someone she had seen when there were no cameras, no audiences, and no performance required. That is the kind of love that is worth waiting for, at any age. It is a love built on the bedrock of truly knowing each other's character, not just being attracted to each other's potential. If this message speaks to you, please share this with someone you know who might need a reminder that love can happen at any age, in any place, as long as we are living authentically. I want to be completely honest with all of you listening to this. For years, after my previous relationships ended, I genuinely wondered if I would ever find the right person. I worried that perhaps I was just too difficult, too relentlessly focused on my work, too set in my ways to ever build something truly lasting with someone. There were countless long nights when I questioned if the fundamental problem was me. I wondered if my insatiable drive to solve massive planetary-scale problems made me impossible to live with. If the intense public attention that shadows my every move would forever be an insurmountable barrier to real intimacy. I feared that I had simply missed my chance for the kind of deep, unwavering partnership I saw other couples enjoy. I had begun to resign myself to the idea that perhaps marriage just wasn't in the cards for me again. Maybe my purpose was to focus entirely on my work and my children from previous relationships. Maybe some people are meant to change the world, and others are meant to find lasting love, but rarely are they meant to do both. But meeting Sarah has shown me something I had almost given up on believing, that when you meet the right person, everything that once seemed impossibly complicated suddenly becomes beautifully simple. All those past relationships, the ones that didn't work out despite everyone's best efforts, were not signs that I was incapable of love. They were preparation. They were the curriculum I had to study to finally be able to recognize the real thing when it appeared before me. Each relationship taught me something invaluable about what I truly needed, what I could offer in return, and what kind of partnership would actually be sustainable for someone like me. What is the most important lesson a past relationship has taught you? Sharing that wisdom in the comments could be incredibly helpful for others navigating their own journeys. Sarah does not see my work as a competitor for her attention. She sees it as an integral part of who I am, just as her calling as a teacher is an integral part of who she is. We do not feel the need to choose between our individual purposes and our shared life. Instead, they enrich and strengthen each other. She doesn't need me to be someone different. She fell in love with the person I actually am, including all the parts that might seem challenging to others, my intensity, my tendency to be mentally troubleshooting problems even during downtime, my relentless need to work on things that I believe matter. In our relationship, these are not obstacles to be overcome. They are simply facets of me that she accepts and even appreciates. For the first time in my adult life, I am with someone who makes me feel that I can be completely and unapologetically myself, while simultaneously inspiring me to grow into an even better version of that self. I do not have to pretend to be more relaxed than I am, or less driven than I feel, or different in any fundamental way. I just have to remain willing to keep practicing every day to become the person I hope to be. After all the public speculation about my personal life over the years, after all the relationships that ended in heartbreak, I finally understand what people mean when they talk about finding the one. It is not about finding someone perfect, because no such person exists. It is about finding someone whose imperfections are a beautiful complement to your own. It is about finding someone whose personal growth supports your growth, and whose very presence in your life makes you want to be worthy of the love they are offering. A period of brightness has finally begun after so many darker periods. Not because everything in my life is suddenly easy, but because I am no longer facing the challenges alone. I have a partner who shares my deepest values, who practices the same intentional approach to life that I am learning, who sees the world with the same mixture of hope and determination that fuels my work. This gives me profound hope for anyone reading this who has experienced relationship disappointments, who wonders if they will ever find their person, who fears they might be too old or too complicated for lasting love. Sometimes the right person appears at the exact moment you stop looking for them and start focusing on becoming who you are meant to be. Sometimes love finds you not when you are trying to be perfect, but when you are bravely practicing being authentic. I thought I knew what I was looking for in a partner for most of my life. I was searching for someone successful, someone who could match my relentless energy, someone who understood the immense demands of building companies and attempting to change the world. I was looking for someone who could fit seamlessly into the life I had already constructed. What I found instead was someone who showed me how to build a better life entirely. Someone who taught me that success without character feels empty, that achievement without purpose is hollow, and that all the rockets and cars and technologies in the world matter far less than the simple, profound act of showing up consistently for the people and the causes you care about. Sarah didn't complete me. That's a myth from romantic movies, not how real love works. Instead, she showed me how to more fully complete myself through the daily practice of the values we both hold dear. She didn't fill a void in my life. She helped me realize that I had been looking for meaning in all the wrong places. True love isn't about finding someone who validates your existing self-image. It's about finding someone who sees your potential for growth and lovingly supports your journey toward becoming your best self. To Sarah, thank you. Thank you for showing me that love does not have to be complicated to be profound. Thank you for showing me that the deepest connections happen when we are simply being ourselves, in service of something larger than ourselves. And thank you most of all for teaching me that the ultimate question in life is not whether we are worthy of love, but whether we are willing, every single day, being the people we hope to become. The work continues, the practice continues, the becoming continues. But now I have a partner in all of it, and that, I have discovered, makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who needs to be reminded that it's never too late for love.